Okay. Okay.
That's on the blue page, right?
All righty. So we are live now. Hi, Faith. We see you. So we are live now on. We're also on Zoom, and then we're also live through Facebook. So this is. All righty. So we are live now. We're also on Zoom, and we're also live. Okay, we're just gonna wait for folks to come on. Issue with the connection. Okay, so let's see who's all here. All right, Tony, we see you join. Faith, we see you. How's everybody doing? All right, so we're just gonna wait to get started, let people come in before we do our official introductions. But Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
All right, so we're just gonna wait to get. And for those of you who are on, make sure you drop down and let us know where you're logged in from. What city and state or country are you joining us from? All right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and as folks come on, we'll continue the conversation accordingly. Okay. So. Okay, so we are Africanity Love, as some of you may or may not know. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. A little quick. We had a little technical snap. So we are Africanity Love, and we are here. We have some great, exciting conversations coming up for you today, as well as for the rest of the year, 2018. And so we want to use this time to really highlight some amazing work that's happening across the diaspora when it comes to business exchange, business opportunities, when it comes to really highlighting what are we as African diaspora doing when it comes to business partnerships and exchange. And so this series, the webinar series, is called Don't Believe the Hype. And so the premise behind that is to dispel any kind of myths that there are about doing business in Africa, investing across the diaspora, and really exchanging in business opportunities with members of the diaspora with an intentional way. And so today we're very thrilled and we're honored to have as our first guest, Dr. Harnet Bokrezion. And she is an amazing mover, shaker, leader, business mind, entrepreneur, thought leader who's doing great work across the diaspora. And so she is the founder of Africa Business Jumpstart. She's also the co-author of this amazing book that everyone should have in their hands that's called 101 Ways to Make Money in Africa. And so we want to welcome you, Dr. Harnet, for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for an amazing introduction, Rahwa.
Thank you, thank you. And then we also have Hanif here, who is a co-founder of Africanity Love, who will be sharing some insights and helping to make sure we're engaging everyone here to answer your questions accordingly.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
So yes, so this is very exciting for us. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. We will answer questions towards the end, so please make sure you're putting questions in the chat or down below so we can make sure we answer your questions. And we want to make this very conversational, very interactive. So please be sure to let us know what questions you have. And so we'll just go ahead and get right to it. So Dr. Harnet, we're, like I said, thrilled to have you, and we want to know a little bit about your journey to Africa Business Jumpstart, how you got started, and what was your motivation?
Yes, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, first of all, Rahwa and Hanif. Thank you so much for the invitation. So I started Africa Business Jumpstart about 4 years ago now. And basically, it is a business that runs online and offline, where I empower the African diaspora at large to start businesses and investments in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal. I believe that more of us should be involved in Africa's new renaissance,
Mm-hmm.
and that we should make the most of the opportunities on the continent as the African diaspora and not be bystanders. And yeah, how did I get started? Well, I actually worked in Africa in international development since the late 90s, so for a very long time. And at one point, I wanted to make the transition from international development, charity work, basically, into business and investments. And well, there I was, a mom of two, being based in the diaspora, Europe, London at the time, now Germany. And well, I didn't know how to get started. I read a lot about, Africa business and investments, and I realized that everything that was out there was on a macro level.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really, teach us, like the simple person, to what to do, what not to do, what steps to take, what's the first step, the second step, what risks do we need to avoid. And so I basically started to research like a crazy woman and to try to find the fine print. And collected so much that I thought, oh my God, I have friends, I have relatives, I have colleagues who would be so interested in this. And this is how Africa Business Jumpstart came about. I decided to have that as the core of my business.
That's wonderful, and so excited and thrilled that you're doing that work, because as we know, as co-founders of Africanity Love, it's very important for us to be very intentional about how we are garnering the strength and leveraging what the African diaspora has to offer, specifically in terms of business entrepreneurship, economic development, because there is a wealth in what we have to offer. So I really appreciate that you are using your platform within Africa Business Jumpstart to really show specifically how to go from just the idea and the thought process, but the implementation, right? The strategy. So can you tell us a little bit more about Africa Business Jumpstart and what it consists of?
Well, yeah, it's mainly an online community, mainly. And the reason for that is because I really, I visited a lot of Africa business events and Africa investment conferences. And what I realized was that a lot of people that were at the conference already knew what they wanted to do. They were already in business, they were already in doing investments. Or if they were not, they kind of stepped out of the conference as clueless as going in, possibly very motivated by everything they heard. But again, these conferences, these Africa business events, they would have speakers from Standard Bank and World Bank and so on, everything very high profile and still not actionable. And I felt there was a real gap that the majority of Africans in the diaspora at large are not at these business and investment events. They're not. They're sitting at home, contemplating about what they could do, how they could do it. And so my strategy was to reach them online, so they could listen to the information and the knowledge and get the empowerment while they were sitting on their couch, while they were stuck in traffic, while they were with their children on the playground. So it is mainly an online business where I provide online courses. We have an online course on how to start an African business. We have an academy, which is basically a membership platform where we really walk the talk. People are actually starting their businesses over a period of several months with my help and the help of other mentors. And we run several programs. We have a new one coming out for import-export, so importing into the United States or United Kingdom African products. So most of it, as I said, is online, but we also have offline events such as the boot camps coming up in New York City, beginning of March. And also I run Africa Business Missions on the ground where I take groups to Ghana and Rwanda. So that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And that's exactly, precisely what we need is really going beyond, because one thing is to have the will, the interest, and the desire, right? And so the next level is how do you take that and you implement and actually get on the ground, whether it's actually going physically to the African continent and visiting different countries, which is what you do with the Business Academy, right?
I will be on the ground with the business missions.
Okay.
And the academy is the membership platform where we really identified a certain business model that people want to start. We pin down on which countries to focus on, which products, which clients to focus on. So basically, it's business coaching, but with an African context for the diaspora.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. And so based on, your experience and you working with the various members that you engage with through the academy, the missions, and the boot camp, can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the challenges or maybe questions that come up for people when it comes to investing in Africa or when it comes to doing business from the diaspora across the board? What are some challenges that you've noticed or you've heard about throughout your experience?
Yeah, I have to say there is a huge range of challenges. Starting with people who actually have started their business, running to their home country because it's home. But as I always say, home may or may not be a good market to do business in Africa. We have 54 countries. So a lot of people in the diaspora are making attached decisions, but we have a lot of countries in Africa where it's not a good place to invest in or do business in. And so we see also a lot of people who fail because they simply chose a very, very unfortunate market. So starting from that to other people who have the wish, the dream, they want to do something and they have no idea how to go about that. So really they need the plan, getting from A to B, what's the roadmap? What are the steps I have to take? That's really what I focus on. But even often with that in place, naturally, people are also held back by other things, such as fear, such as concerns, such as other people telling them it's not a good idea. So this is, I mean, the case for everyone who goes into business, that there will be the little voice trying to talk you out of it because you're leaving your comfort zone and you're starting something new. So one thing I realized working with our members in particular is that in order to start your business successfully in an African context, and that can be you doing something on the ground or doing business with Africa while you're based in the United States, both is possible. But what I realized is that giving them the roadmap A to B is not enough. People are held back by their own narrative, you know, their own, as I said, fears and worries and issues with success or money or discipline or procrastination. And so we have included a lot of mindset training as well, because you can't be successful or you can't become successful with the old mindset. You need to actually develop a success mindset in order to get you to that new level, and that's hugely important. So that's another challenge we're incorporating now, or we're trying to tackle by incorporating mindset training.
Absolutely, and that's very important, you know, and mindset is so instrumental, right? No matter if it's entrepreneurship pathway that you've decided to start, or any transition in life, I think a mindset is very key to make sure it's appropriate to where you want to go. And so it's not limiting, your beliefs are not limiting your possibilities. And
Absolutely.
And that's the very purpose really of this space, with this particular platform, with the webinar series, is we're really wanting to challenge folks to think outside of the box. And so that's why we intentionally call this Don't Believe the Hype, really engaging, going beyond what the world, what society has labeled Africa or African diaspora to be, and really being willing to push boundaries and say, you know what, we decide our own narrative, and we're going to spotlight our own stories and experiences, and really be the leaders in our own stories. And so we're very excited for you and what you're doing here with us. And for those of you who just joined us, we are interviewing Dr. Harnet, who is the founder of Africa Business Jumpstart. She's also the author of 101 Ways to Make Money in Africa. And so she does amazing work all across the board, all across the diaspora. And so back to the questions we have here, we're really wanting, and for those of you who are joining us either through Facebook or through webinar, please drop your questions down below so we can make sure we're answering them and getting you what you need while you're on the webinar session today. So when you think about the diaspora, particularly the countries that you visit or do work with across your membership, how do you decide, for instance, how do you decide the best markets to invest in, and then how do you actually engage folks to be part of your work? What does that look like for you?
Right. I mean, this is a very important question. As I said, or as most of you will know, Africa has 54 markets. So that makes it very different as an emerging region that, you know, from other regions such as China or Russia or Brazil, because there you have one market, but in Africa you have 54. And what we need to understand is that they differ a lot among each other in terms of both opportunity and in terms of risk. So we have markets that are very high in opportunity, and there are markets that are very low in opportunity. And then there are markets that are very high in risk, and then there are markets that are, you know, relatively low in risk. And so what I use as a strategy is, especially for first starters, someone who's starting a business for the first time in Africa, someone who is trying to invest in Africa for the first time, to go with the category that I call low risk, high opportunity market. So where the low is relatively, the risk is relatively low, but the opportunity is high. Because investing in a market as that, or starting a business there, makes your life so much more, you know, easy as compared to going into a high risk market. So that's the strategy, and of course that's just a single aspect, because investing or starting a business is much more complex than that. Basically, you know, how do I empower, motivate, and mobilize the African diaspora. It's mainly online through initiatives such as this one, LinkedIn, Facebook, networks that I am, partner of, and yeah, we're trying to reach as many people as possible. And as you quite rightly said, Rahwa, it's an important thing that we start to write our own narrative. But that also means writing your own narrative also means that you become an active player in it. So we have been labeled so many things, be it in Africa or be it in the diaspora. And very often that label sticks. And then you're trying to get rid of the label. But what I always believe is you need to replace the old with the new. And that means it's not enough to just be annoyed or upset or angry about the narrative. You need to become an active player in telling the new narrative. Absolutely. And you're telling that by taking action. And that's the key point. So I see some people kind of complaining already, oh, Europeans and Chinese are taking up the opportunities in Africa. I mean, yes, correct, it's true. But it is not our place to complain. What we have to do instead is take action ourselves. The African diaspora is hugely powerful. We're sending over 30 billion US dollars. Over 30 billion, not million, 30 billion US dollars into Africa through remittances every single year. That's more than every, development aid or aid combined. That's more than China ever invested in Africa. We're hugely powerful, but our money is being sent through, I don't know, remittance channels, or we're sending it with friends by plane or something. So this money is not accounted for. It's money that's used for clothes or rent. It is not used for building business, for building investments, or for building an economy. We're hugely powerful once we recognize that.
Absolutely.
More powerful than China or the international development aid. That's what we need to recognize. But this will only take place if we step in and step up and not stand at the sidelines and observe.
So my question would be, earlier you mentioned the fear that prohibits some people from investing. What is the source of that fear, and what have you, in your work and your experience, how can we overcome that fear?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think that the fear is manifold. So one is the kind of obvious fear. So people will say, oh, but there's corruption. Oh, there's conflict. Oh, it's not safe. We can't trust our leaders. There's a lot of bureaucracy. So a lot of people just kind of use that as that's my worry, that's my concern. And for that reason, I haven't made a step forward. And I think, that concern is, people have a right to have that concern. This is why I say, well, there are markets in Africa which are much less risky than other markets. So start in those markets. So to name a few, there's Botswana, Namibia, Tanzania, Rwanda, Ghana. This is just to name a few. They're much, much, much less riskier than a lot of other markets in Africa. So start there. That's number one. So, for example, countries like Botswana or Rwanda, you have hardly any corruption. Countries like Tanzania or Ghana, you don't need to worry about political unrest or conflict. So it starts with that. The other thing, Hanif, is, of course, people are just scared to try something new, and that's natural to everyone. This is us as a human being, because our brain tries to protect us. Our brain is there to let us survive, not to let us thrive. So as soon as we want to strive, we're stepping out of our comfort zone, and our brain is suddenly, experience a thing that it doesn't know. And this leap into the unknown will trigger a lot of alarm clocks in terms of procrastination, in terms of this is not a good idea, the little voice coming in, and fears. Or even rational explanations why this is not a good idea at all. But in the end of the day, it's all fear and our brain trying to protect us not to do the the extraordinary, but stay with the, within the comfort zone.
And so on the flip side of the fear, what are the rewards that you have seen people by engaging and investing in Africa?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, you know, and I've gone through that for myself, because I've worked in international development. I was an employee myself. I always say I grew up with a poverty mindset, you know, and I think many of us have a poverty mindset. Our families maybe focus on education or so on, but we're not really empowered to be great in the world, or to create wealth for ourselves so we can have financial freedom. I mean, which school system or which family teaches that? Hardly any. So a lot of us have a poverty mindset, and one thing that happens when you really step into starting a business anywhere, when you start a business, the business will not work unless you have changed your mindset. So a lot of people are trying to figure out the structure and the system and the price of their product and the website and the logo. That won't make you successful. It starts with a mindset shift, and the success will follow as a result of that. So what I have experienced myself and what I see among members who really embrace that, because they want the success badly, they want the change in their lifestyle badly, well, they change as a result of that. And that's basically the sweet fruit that you're getting out of it as well. You're not just owning a business and making more money, but you actually have changed as a person, and into a better version, I believe, because the business, the success requires that of you. You become a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. I think the points you make are just so right on. I mean, I'm just in agreement on so many levels, from the importance of the right mindset, really pushing aside the poverty mindset, replacing that with the wealth mindset, understanding what our relationship to money is, because a lot of it, some of it is social and cultural, how we identify with money or business or where we do business and our alliances to geographical regions because of whatever. And so I love that you're pushing all those, rewriting the story. And so, so myself being Eritrean American, I know that we're very particular about supporting our culture, our people, our community. And just what you're suggesting, this idea of just kind of looking beyond your one country, your one community, but supporting the diaspora and being identifying with this Pan-African mindset, that in itself can be revolutionary, you know, in and of itself. So appreciate that you really are emphasizing the importance of the mindset and expanding your mind, really broadening it and challenging your mindset. And so we want to leave this a few more minutes here. We want to also allow everyone that is joining us through the webinar, also through Facebook Live, to ask any questions that you may have. We want to make sure that Dr. Harnet has a chance to answer your questions also. So we'll give you time to drop your questions down below. And in the meanwhile, what I want to make sure and encourage everyone to be aware of is to mark your calendar for March 10th through 11th. Dr. Harnet will be in New York City. We'll be supporting her Africa Business Boot Camp, which is a 2-day seminar, when she'll talk to us a little bit more what that is. But we want to encourage you, for those of you who have joined us on this webinar, we will make sure to follow up with you afterwards to give you a link to get a discount access to that webinar, where you can see Dr. Harnet engage with her and others live in the flesh, to really be clear on, for those of you who are serious about doing business on the continent and also investment, you have a chance to really learn the tools. So Dr. Harnet, if you could tell us a little bit more about the Africa Business Bootcamp and what to expect.
Yeah, sure. So the Africa Business Bootcamp is basically my 2-day live event, as you said, to teach the African diaspora how to do business in Africa and how to invest there. So it is a crash course. It is on a level that you've never experienced it before. You will get out pretty exhausted, but I can promise you that you learn within these 2 days more than you will probably learn in a year. And I had people trying business for 3-4 years with Africa, you know, they went to the boot camp and said, oh my God, I wished I had known that years ago. So it is really, it sets you up in terms of understanding what is required, understanding the do's and the don'ts, understanding also that no, you don't need 100,000 to get started. You don't need necessarily 10,000 to get started. You can get started on a shoestring budget. So that shouldn't be an excuse as well, because I teach how to get started on a shoestring budget. And also, it doesn't mean that you need to relocate. You don't need to, you know, pack your bags and relocate to Africa. There are enough business models where you can do business with Africa and still remain, you know, located in the United States. So this is what we teach. I think for many of my members, followers, the boot camp is the very first step to get started. And then, you know, a lot of people take on other programs more advanced if they need to. But the main thing is that you suddenly understand what it actually takes. And that's the goal of this boot camp. So you walk away with a new understanding and with absolute clarity. In my view is if you're not hindered by fear or excuses, the boot camp will set you up to get started. That's it.
Absolutely. And is there particular characteristics in the attendees for the boot camp? For instance, should they already be in business, or should they have any kind of experience before coming in, or who's the best candidate for this type of boot camp?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we had people across the range, seriously across the range. I would say 50-50 men, women. We had young people in their early 20s. We had old people above 60, you know. Across the range, we had professionals, we had people coming from university, we had people who are already doing business on the continent and are very successful there. So we even had people on the boot camp who already are millionaires because they wanted to understand new markets and new ways of doing business. But mainly, I think we have people there who you know, want to start turning their life around, creating a business that they love, so that they can become financially independent and do something that's of more value to them, making an impact in Africa. And then, of course, we also have people who are just interested in investing. They love their careers. And yeah, but I think most people, they want to get rid of their 9-to-5 job and want to start a new lifestyle.
Well, wonderful. This sounds great. Like I mentioned, we want to encourage those of you who are on and to share with your friends, your family, your network, the Africa Business Boot Camp that's going to be March 10th to the 11th in New York City. We will provide a link after this to those who joined us as a thank you to being with us, a discount code to access that boot camp. And then my understanding is Dr. Harnet also has available some online resources. So for instance, first we want to encourage you to come to New York to be with us. And if you're not able to join, in order to get some information that's very similar to what we provided at the boot camp, there is an option for you to join online separately. So can you tell us a little bit about that, Dr. Harnet?
Yeah, sure. I basically have an online version of the boot camp. So it's called the Virtual Africa Business Boot Camp. That is a very compressed version, but you know, very good for people who can, for whatever reason, you know, not fly maybe across the USA or something like that. They can still get started online. It's a compressed version, so the online course, I think it's about 4 to 5 hours, but the key points are absolutely mentioned. It's 10 modules, and I just you know, 2 days ago, someone wrote me, "Oh my God, this is amazing information. I wished I had known that." So we have that, and of course the bootcamp, the live event. Seriously, nothing is better than attending a live event. You will have about 16 hours of teaching there. Not only teaching, it's also about really, you know, the atmosphere, the energy, high energy, and that's really, it will improve your learning progress and your motivation.
Wonderful. That's amazing. And so we want to encourage those of you who want to know more. Well, like I said, we'll follow up with you as long as you register for this webinar or if you join us on Facebook. We want to make sure we get you the information you need so that you can be signed up, registered for this boot camp, as well as for those of you who are not able to make it to New York to have access to the online version. So we want to encourage you to go to africanitylove.com. That's AFRICANITY love.com. Make sure you sign up to our mailing list so we give you updates. And then Dr. Harnet, we want to also let people know where they could find you online.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on africajumpstart.com. That's Africa and then jumpstart.com. That's my website.
Okay.
And you will find everything on there that we've mentioned during this chat.
Wonderful. Thank you. So,
and also for those like who may have not been able to make it to the webinar and witness this webinar, please share with other people that you know may be interested in this type of work. We encourage you to share and inform other people of the opportunities that are present.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
Thank you. And any last words, any last comments you want to provide us, Dr. Harnet?
Yes, I think the last words will be, you know, starting a business is not easy. You don't really know what it brings. It's a plunge into the unknown, but the magic lies in the jump into the unknown. And what you will get out, it's amazing. You know, it's really a new view of life. You will probably wake up with a purpose that will keep you going. And I would really say it's time that we change our narrative, that we became active players. We should not be the bystanders when Africa goes into a new future and renaissance. And we should certainly also not be the complainers at one point. We really need to stand up and take action. And that action can be taken one step at a time, no matter what your circumstance, it can be done.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you all of you who joined us by way of webinar and Facebook Live. And let's share this. Let's keep it going. And this is one of a series of webinars we'll be having for 2018. Don't Believe the Hype webinar series will be every other month. Make sure you go to africanitylove.com and sign up for our mailing list so we give you updates, and also follow us on Facebook under Africanity Love. We're also on Twitter. So let's keep the conversation going. This is just one of many. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, Dr. Harnet.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.